packet, I think there was only one letter. It was Mike Jensen's letter of opposition. Have you looked at that?
I
And
have,
can you
yes.
address some of his concerns for me, please?
Yes, I don't have it on me right now, but I believe it was his view shed. One of them was view sheds. If you can confirm it for me, is he on 10th Ave?
I think, yeah, let me get my packet. And then can we actually get up like a site plan so I can see when the neighbors are testifying where exactly they live?
If we can pull up my presentation, I can pull up a site plan for you.
Awesome, thank you. See the back, okay. So he had, he felt like the two-story homes are already sufficiently tall. He's worried about a precedent making, for future developments. Impact the views of their Boise foothills and Bogus Basin. I think those were his main concerns, and maybe he's here today, he can address those in person.
Yeah, I can't speak to precedent, that'd probably be the city of Caldwell, but I can speak to the view sheds. I believe I don't know if we have the site plan, so you can see along 10th Ave, those phases are significantly lower than 10th Ave. So if you're standing on 10th Ave, those sit, I don't have the exact elevations, but those sit quite a bit lower than 10th. As you get into the middle of the site, it does come up a little bit in elevation around our phase. You don't have the phases there, but around phase 1, which is about the center of the site there. But I would like to highlight that on the other side of Montana Ave, that elevation is quite significantly higher. The homes being built not by Toll, but another developer, are already higher than, sitting higher than what our highest would probably be. So I just want
Oh, as far as the level
as
of
far as
homes,
the
I
elevation
see.
goes
Yes,
up, yeah.
I see, okay. Hannah, I do have a few people in opposition to testify. Do you have anything else you would like to tell me before I allow them to come up?
No, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now that the applicant has spoke, I'll be calling people that have marked that they would like to speak. I have a list in opposition. Beth Carrico, would you like to come up, please? Beth, can you give me your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Yes, I am Beth Carrico. My residence is at 16227 South Kimball Avenue, Caldwell. And I am here to speak in opposition to the height increase in Passero subdivision. Thank you for the chance as a community member to speak before you today in regards to concerns and opposition to the height increase that has been requested by developer Toll Brothers for the Passero subdivision at Montana and Orchard. I would like to address opposition to the increase in height from 25 feet to 30 feet that has been requested in the special use permit. My residence is located in the area north of Passero, as I live near 10th and David near the Valley View Middle School. With the exponential increase of new homes in the valley, we are literally being surrounded with views of rooftops, miles of fencing, two-story homes, and increased rental apartments. And now to add insult to injury, so to speak, there is a request to cut off even more view of what sky we have left as a result of all the two-story homes. The increase in height would actually create the equivalent of three-story buildings. Also, I have a question about the mid-peak, because it sounds like 30 feet would be at mid-peak, which means that the very peak would be higher than 30 feet. Should this request be granted, it is going to very well set precedents for other builders to request an increase in roof height, which I'm sure has already been done in other subdivisions. Please do not cut off more view of our Idaho sky by granting this increase. The additional height is actually an interference to the sunrises and sunsets which we love to see in our Idaho horizons, but have been blocked off by the addition of so many homes built and land eaten up. Not only is Passero by the lake packing in homes that you can literally reach out and touch from one side of a house to another. Of course, these appear secretly tucked back well into the subdivision, but now they want to go even higher than originally proposed. Pack them in and go sky high. Toll Brothers is in the process of developing an even larger area than the Passero subdivision near me, building over 1,000 residential homes, including quadruplexes on the land that was owned and sold by University of Idaho, which are the fields between Pradera and my 1970s subdivision I reside in. Also across the street from me, Element Ridge subdivision with 214 homes on 75 acres is being planned by a different developer and could very likely request a height increase, but like Toll Brothers may wait until development is well underway. We're seeing cookie cutter homes all over, raised height of homes to actually not 2 but 3-story buildings, and an ever-increasing amount of traffic as it is on South 10th, with Highway 55 construction also beginning. All of this may serve the city and developer well financially with taxes and higher cost of homes with increase of height, but it is at the expense of people who moved into our homes because of the view and wildlife area in which we live. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you, Beth. So hold tight. That's, Alex, can you discuss with her how everything's measured in the mid-peak, and if it's going to be over the 30 feet, then what, please?
So planning and zoning, Morgan Bisa Planning and Zoning. So currently, the City of Caldwell Code measures building height to midpoint of peak. So you are correct. So currently, for that zone, the maximum height is 25 feet at midpoint of peak. So this application would be requesting a waiver to raise the maximum height to 30 feet at midpoint of peak. As the hearing examiner mentioned and the applicant, they're not currently showing any elevations that go to 30 feet at midpoint of peak. The most that they're showing is 26 feet and 8 inches, so 1 foot and 8 inches beyond the 25 feet. So if the hearing examiner chose to impose a condition of 27 feet, as you mentioned earlier, at midpoint of peak, you have the option to do that. The applicant did talk to staff about this before they submitted, and I believe the reason that they are requesting 30 is because we suggested that they ask for as much as they might want in the future, so we don't have to do this if it's someone requested a specific or a custom home or something and the elevation changed, we wouldn't have to come back and get a special use permit. But currently they are not showing that they need that, so potentially, the hearing examiner could choose to implement a new condition. I will also mention that I did pull up the code, the parcels adjacent to this area in the county. They are county zoned and not city zoned, so they have different requirements.
So that's on the other side of 10th Avenue?
Is that 10th?
Yes.
Yes, so all the properties west of this subdivision in the county have a maximum height of 35 feet in the county. So this development currently is, code is much less than the county.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask a question? Okay, so the plans that I saw in the works on the city website looked higher than, there was one like 29 feet, there was one like 30 feet there.
So
what was that?
Morgan Bisa, that is correct, although I will refrain from going back and forth in the future, so I apologize for the poor etiquette. Because we are measuring the maximum height at midpoint of peak, it does put the maximum height of structure, so peak, for the highest structure at 31 feet, 4 inches.
And that's my whole, I stand by what I said, that yes, okay, that answered my question. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you for your testimony. Next, I have both boxes, to speak and not to speak. Mr. Gordon, I don't know if I can read your last name.
Terriall.
Terriall. Would you like to come up and?
I would first.
Please come up.
I'm indecisive.
That's fine. Name and address, please, for the
My
record.
name is Gordon Terriall. Address is 16226 Horizon Drive, the corner of Horizon and David. My problem with letting the height get higher in the subdivision we're talking about right now is just as Beth said, then the next subdivision, well, hey, you did it for them, you're gonna do it for us. We moved there because of the beautiful view, the open land and everything else. I don't understand what the extra height does to help the city at all. It doesn't do anything to help us at all. It helps the developer, more money. You can't put a bedroom in 5 feet of height, which is what they're asking for. So all they want to do is make the front of their homes look pretty, change the design, keep them low. That's my whole thing right there. There's a ton of other things that'll come up with the next development that's closer to us, but as far as this is like lighting the fuse to extend up to where we're at, between traffic and all the other things that are gonna go on.
So Gordon, do you live across the street off 10th Avenue, or do you live farther north?
I live west of 10th,
Okay.
up on David Street.
Okay,
There's 2 homes on the north side of David Street. I'm directly across from the furthest one up.
okay,
And they're just gonna swallow him up. And Beth lives right behind me, and the writing is on the wall. Then the city, we're county right now, but we know that the city wants to annex us in because there's a tax base and everything else. And it's not fair to us that we've been here this long, and then now the city's gonna let these people do this, and then swallow us, and then jack our taxes and everything else.
It
We
is
can't stop
transition.
development, I understand that.
Sure, okay,
But we can try to slow down them making things bigger than they need to be,
sure. Okay,
okay?
Gordon, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you
I
very
really
much, ma'am.
appreciate it.
I
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Next, no box was signed. Colleen and Greg Agresta? Would you, one or both like to come up and testify? We'll probably just do one at a time. Would that be okay?
That's fine.
Is
I
that,
wasn't
could they do a dual test, one at a time? Okay, thank you.
good because she's the one with all the questions, but I hadn't planned on speaking. But my name is Greg Agresta. I live on 15214 Wicklow Lane, which is across the 10th Street from
Okay,
I guess the Phase 5 part of this building.
Oh,
They're-
one of the
they're
later phases?
Still
Okay.
excavating, so I'm assuming that's the last one to go. But I hadn't really planned to speak. I just want to know what was going on. But you know, that foot and a half doesn't sound like much, but it all depends on how far away you are to it. If you're looking at it 500 feet or yards away, it looks like an insignificant amount. The closer you get on 10th, the bigger that 2.5 or 1.5 foot becomes. And I agree with everything the other ladies said, the first speaker, the view and everything else. I know we're going to lose it. The building's going to come in whether we like it or not. It's already started. But I take exception to the fact that a builder comes in, knows the rules, begins the projects. Oh, by the way, can we have another 1.5 feet? Well, let's make it 30, so if we have to ask again, we can go. So when does it go to 35? When does it go to 40 in the next development? They knew the rules. Don't build that 2-story house. Change the plan until it fits the code that's existing at the time that they applied for it. And I just think that that's only fair to, I mean, we got to go by the rules. They should too. So I don't know if the decision's been made or not, but I think that at least ought to consider the fact that they knew what they were getting into when they started it, and now they're going to take an inch and try to get a mile.
okay.
And that's all I have to say when I wasn't going to say anything in the first place. Thank you.
No, you're fine. Thank you so much for your testimony. Colleen, would you like to come up now and speak? Hi.
Agresta. Do I need to give my address?
Just name and address real quick.
15214 Wicklow Lane
Okay.
in Caldwell, Idaho. And I wasn't expecting to speak either, and this is the first time I've ever done this, just so you know. But
Just take your time and don't feel, no pressure.
I just agree with everything that
Sure.
people have said, of course. And what I understand is that a lot of it is ceiling height. We're talking about ceiling height, some of these 12-foot ceilings. And what is the deal for them to bring them down to 10 foot? I mean, I'm just saying, really, for them to change that for us, and, to keep good neighbor, relationships, and the views being occluded, and the sunsets and sunrises is another concern. Also don't understand quite still how they can say that the peak is lower than what it actually, the height is lower than the peak. I don't understand that.
I don't think that's what they're saying.
Okay.
Yes. Alex, did you hear her question?
Sorry,
Because
if you
she's
could
getting,
repeat that.
she's confused that she's thinking that, can you ask your
Well,
question?
just that it says that 26 feet, it's 26 feet, but it visually shows 31 feet.
So just for clarification on that one, that the 31 feet, yes, is to the very tippy top of the roof. The way our code reads, we do not measure from there. We measure from about the middle of that tippy top.
Well, I mean, to me, that's an odd rule, but,
Our city, staff can bring this up, I've been talking with the deputy director, our city is one of the few who does the measurement like that.
when
We
did that happen?
It's been, I've worked here for almost 3 years now, and it's been the same since then, so it's been here for quite a few years. There has been talks about changing that, but we don't know at the moment. We need to discuss something better. But many cities will do 30 feet from just all the way to peak, so these ones would still, most of them would still comply with other city codes. It's just ours is written a little different than others.
Which makes a difference in the view and everything, does make a difference. Okay.
Correct.
I guess that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so everyone else that signed up, checked the box that they didn't want to speak. Now, you can change your mind if you'd like to come up. That's why we do public hearings. So was there anyone on this list or not on the list that would like to come up and provide some testimony? Hello.
Hi, my name's Karen Jardina, and I live at 15132 Kings Row Road, right across from the, where they're getting ready to build on 10th. I'm
Okay.
Right across 10th.
Okay.
And I know that when I built my house, it was a little too high for what their regulations were for where my house sat. And I had to readjust my roof lines and redo all my trusses and bring it down to the right level. And I did that to keep all of my neighbors happy and to do it the right way. And I think they can do the same thing. They can lower their ceiling heights a little bit, they can do whatever they need to do, but they need to bring it down to what they agreed to do. So that's my thoughts.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to come up and speak? Going, okay, gone. We will now have the applicant come up. Hannah, if you'd like to come up and maybe address some of the concerns that the neighbors brought up during their testimony, and then give me your name and address one more time.
Yes, Hannah Assurance, representing Toll Brothers, 3103 West Sherrill Drive in Meridian. Let's see, first of all, I appreciate all the comments and concerns. I'll start with, let's see, I'll start with the concern with, again, addressing the height and the view sheds from 10th Ave. Again, just want to reiterate that we are lower than 10th Ave, probably by, I think, building pads are about 10 to 12 foot lower than 10th Ave, along 10th Ave. It does creep up in the middle, but then again, across Montana Ave, that subdivision that is already being developed under construction is, elevations are already higher than that. So just wanted to reiterate that. Let's see. In terms of the midpoint, mid-peak, that's also an area for us that is new. I think as staff mentioned, we develop in a lot of jurisdictions throughout the valley, and it is not something that we run into very often. So I think that has also triggered a lot of these, the special use permit, and a lot of us looking at our floor plans and what can actually work there. Unfortunately, the majority of our floor plans that we offer and the elevations that we offer throughout our communities in the valley just simply don't work with the midpoint, how the midpoint is measured here. I think as staff mentioned, in similar zoning districts throughout the valley, I think it's at 35 feet is relatively standard from the top of peak, or top of roof. Is there anything else you would like me to address?
Have you guys looked into maybe like redesigning, lowering the ceiling? I mean, what extent have you looked at trying to meet the code?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have a range of different floor plans, but the majority of them, I think Arbor is the only one that really, the 2 stories fit underneath that. But in our subdivisions, we try to offer a range of products, and I believe we're not able to just develop the same elevation next door to each other over and over again, just for variation, and to, obviously, for the beautification of the community, not able to do that, so.
And all the ceiling heights are all the same with all your collections? Or are the 2-story, the other ones, they're a little bit higher, is that?
Yeah, I would have to look at our floor plans across, I mean, I can't speak to every single floor plan of, right now. Let me take a look at the one that we're offering, if it even shows ceiling height on that one. I don't think it specifically calls out ceiling height on the elevation there, but,
Okay.
but I'm sure there's some variation on ceiling heights within all of our plans, but, typically, I think it's the peak is the issue.
peak's the issue.
In the city
Okay.
of Coldwell, at least.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Hannah, that you would like to
No.
address? Okay.
Unless you have any questions
Okay.
for me.
I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to approve it, but I'm only going to approve to 27 feet. I just feel with the neighbors' concerns that the 30 feet would just be too much. So can we modify that just to be to the 27 feet? And with that, I'll close the public hearing, and let's see, where's my little cheat sheet? Based on the testimony, information received, and record of evidence presented, I will make a motion to approve the application SUP-000010. So,
And Madam Attorney, that's with the added condition of,
Of-
or the modified condition that
It'll be-
27 max height to midpoint.
yes, yes.
Thank you.
Now, we have our final item. This is case number SUP 24-0000. Oh, I hope I'm giving enough zeros, 9. The applicant Toll Brothers for a special use permit to allow a maximum building height of the residences of, that's the wrong one. What is this subdivision? Perdera subdivision? Is also requesting to be, to be increased from 25 to 30 feet. The applicant is requesting a buffer of flexibility in the field. The subject site is located at the northwest corner of South 10th Avenue and Homedale Road. Okay, sounds like it's a repeat.
Yes.
Rinse and repeat, Alex?
Yes.
Okay,
This
here we
one's-
go.
This one has some other added conditions, so there will be a little difference to it. But
Okay,
I'll
oh, good, okay.
do my best. Alex, thank you, Madam Alexander. Alex Jones, planner, 205 South 6th Avenue. Today before you is Toll Brothers' request for the building height exception for Perdera subdivision. For subject site location, the subject site is located in the northwest corner of the intersection between South 10th Avenue and East Homedale Road in Caldwell. The site has frontage along Homedale Road and South 10th. So for conditions surrounding subject site, the subject site is surrounded by single-family residential to the northwest and east, along with county ag land to the east and county ag land to the south. For background history of site, the site was annexed in 2008 with a subdivision preliminary plat with a development agreement and zoning designation of R1 low-density residential. The subdivision plat expired in 2013 after receiving several time extensions. In 2020, the subject site went through the preliminary plat hearing process with a development agreement modification, which was approved. In 2023, the final plat was recorded. The development agreement and order decision from the preliminary plat and the amended development agreement did not indicate any request or approvals for building height exceptions. That's why we had this special use permit for you today. In 2023, the subdivision name was changed from Sela Estate Subdivision to Perdera Subdivision. The applicant has several home designs that exceed the allowed 25-foot height. Again, that's measured to midpoint of peak. The applicant was informed by staff that a special use permit would be required to exceed the maximum allowed height by code. Condition number 24 of the amended and recorded development agreement states that all residential lots abutting the west property line shall be required to have single-story homes.
Can you highlight which homes are for me?
So all those on the western boundary of this that you see on here, I might have a site plan in this presentation
Oh,
that I can
awesome.
bring up.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Alex.
Actually, think about it, I do not, I was supposed to add that, but there's not one in there.
Okay.
I apologize.
That's fine.
So for zoning and land use analysis, the subject site is zoned R1 Single Family Residential and is surrounded by county on the east, south, and west, along with just a little bit of R1 to the north.
Okay.
For comprehensive plan analysis, the comp plan designation for this site is low-density residential, along with the parcels to the northwest and south and business to the east. Here are the elevations. They should be pretty similar to our previous one that we just had. There are some slight deviations, but it looks like the tallest all the way up to peak of roof is 31 feet again. Sorry, this clicker's a little touchy. All public agencies notified, ITD, City of Nampa, Caldwell Engineering Department, Mapping Department, the Parks Department had no comments or concerns, and the Fire Department just provided their general approval criteria. And then all public notifications were included in the staff report. In reviewing the recorded development agreement, condition number 24 states that all 13 residential lots, 3 through 9, 11 through 14, and 16 through 17 of Block 2, abutting the west property line shall be required to have single-story homes. So with that, that means that this exception would not be applicable to those homes. Staff recommends that lots 3 through 9, 11 through 14, 16 through 17, Block 2, on the recorded final plat, SUB 2327, should remain at max height of 25 feet to midpoint of peak. Staff has no concerns with the granting of a height exception to 30 feet or 27 feet if that is more comfortable for the remaining lots in the subdivision as measured from midpoint of peak. Staff feels that the request is consistent with the surrounding zones, residential subdivisions, and open space. And I stand for questions.
Can you go back to that, oh, no, at the very end, when you had all your, in the final plat?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I guess my first question is, this isn't going to be affecting the development agreement at all? That's already been signed and recorded?
That is correct. The development agreement was specific on those particular lots being single-story, and so you can't have a 30-foot home that's already single-story.
Sure, absolutely. And then you're talking about the recorded final plat. I'm assuming that's Phase 1, since that's already recorded that this won't impact the first phase.
Correct.
We'll just be looking at the remaining phases.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know how many more phases they have left?
Off the top of the head, I do not.
Okay, I can ask the applicant.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay. Hannah, would you like to come back up and give me your name and address again, please?
Yes. Hannah Assurance, representing Toll Brothers, 3103 West Sherrill Drive in Meridian.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, we're only having one phase, it's just one phase development, so there's no additional phases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what's he talking about recorded then? Something's been recorded.
Just the final plat has been recorded for this one phase. I believe it's, yeah, the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
We're calling it a phase, but it's just the entire,
Oh, okay, I
Development,
see,
yeah.
I see. Okay,
yeah, sorry for the confusion.
no problem.
All right, let me get to, I'm gonna kind of skip over a couple of this because it's the same stuff that I just presented, but again, the request is for increase from 25 feet to 30 feet from, measured as from the midpoint of peak. Pradera is located on the intersection of 10th and Homedale in the city of Caldwell. This subdivision is comprised of 52 residential lots. I do have a exhibit here showing the homes restricted to single-story per the development agreement, so that's that western property line that staff was indicating. Those are the
Okay.
homes
And so
highlighted in
north
yellow.
is,
North is
That way.
Pat Lane, you can
Okay.
see Pat Lane. So as staff indicated, we are subject to a development agreement with the City of Caldwell. Essentially, the DA just provides additional conditions in addition to the regulations of the zoning district. As staff mentioned, one of those conditions is that all the homes along the western property boundary, there's 13 of them, should be restricted to single story. And we are not asking for any height variation for those homes. We intend to adhere to the DA for those homes. Also want to note another condition in the development agreement is that all our single-story homes have to be a minimum of 1,900 square feet, and all our two-story homes have to be a minimum of 2,300 square feet. So we are adhering to that standard, but that is also one of the reasons the homes have to be slightly larger and also in turn become slightly taller. Just in the same graphic as I showed before, where we're measuring midpoint for our max building height from the midpoint. Did I skip over one? At Pradera, we're offering a Brookside home collection. This is due to the size of the homes. These ones allow us to meet the square footage requirements of the DA. We're offering 6 floor plans, and each of these have 5 exterior options for their elevations. Again, similar to the one I just presented, all of our single-story homes adhere to the 25-foot height requirements. All of those homes along that western property boundary will be below that 25 feet. And then the highest two-story elevation that is offered is 26 feet, 8.5 inches. So very similar to the last application. Again, just showing those elevations of the Brookside. This here is the tallest one-story. It's just shy of 17 feet. And, it's really touchy. The tallest, and here's an elevation of the tallest two-story. Again, as I just mentioned, it's just shy of 27 feet at 26 feet, 8.5 inches. So similar considerations, as we discussed already about the height requirement measurement from the midpoint. Our floor plans are not out of character for the valley, just the standard for measuring from the midpoint is a unique thing here in the City of Caldwell. I want to just note that the DA was originally written in 2008. Since that time, obviously, design of homes and elevations and building materials and all those things have obviously changed, and we're always adapting to that. Again, just trying to provide architecture that fits the area, and also, again, I think the pitch of the roof on these obviously meets the bulk and scale of the homes that we're trying to provide per the DA for two-story. That again is 2,300 square feet. And I think that's all I have. So,
Okay.
if you have any questions for me.
I do have a few questions. So, I don't know if you did the neighborhood meeting for this one or not. A Brody Kessler Mock had wrote in, and he just basically was talking about how he was worried about the height and the single level homes. I'm assuming that was explained during the neighborhood meeting that you guys were still meeting your DA requirements.
Yes, I
So
believe
it seems like there was a
so.
little confusion.
Yeah, I believe so, and I hopefully I cleared that up with the presentation, and staff cleared that up, that those homes along the western property boundary, it's never been our intention to change those to two-story. It's never been our intention to switch what the DA states. We're going to keep those at single-story.
And then you talked about the original DA being done in 2008. I'm assuming that was modified
It was amended,
With
I
your-
believe, 2021,
when you
Stuff.
resubmitted? Okay.
I believe.
And that's where the one-story came in to,
I believe at that
condition, okay.
stage, I was not involved in that process, but I believe
Okay.
at that stage, there was communication with neighbors about that.
sure. And then you said the Brookside collection you guys created for this subdivision? Did you not notice the height difference? It wasn't realized then?
It's one of the floor plans that we offer. Again, we were trying to fit the floor plans that we offer to fit the bulk that we're required to by the DA. There's also other standards in the DA that we have to meet in terms of what our product type looks like. So this product type is the one that fits that
Okay.
for the DA. So
But it's also a product type that you're going to use throughout the valley?
it is something that we do offer.
Sure, okay.
But yes, yeah.
I think that's all the questions I have. Oh, I guess, again, the SUP has a 2-year limit, and you have 52 lots. I'm assuming that development start, are you guys going to be done with everything within that time frame?
I don't know about building and selling. Obviously, that's directed by market. But we're recorded, the plat's recorded, and we are, sales are open, it's open for sale.
Okay. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have. Again, we have a list of people in opposition, so I will need you to come back up for rebuttal when we're ready for you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you, Hannah. All right, Carol? Carl, Anna, would you please come up? Hi.
My name is Carl Anna. I live at 105 West Homedale Road in Caldwell. That is about 3 properties west of the property in question.
Okay.
We missed the mint field that used to be there. Had a nice smell during summer, but people have to develop. Talking to some neighbors over the years, since we moved in 2020, they had definite concerns about this property, especially with the height and the size of the houses. Started out with they were going to pack a bunch of houses in. They had the community meeting. They decided to make them bigger houses, which is great, fewer houses. But now the height requirement, I don't think it's really going to make a difference that just that one row of houses is going to be shorter, one-story houses, because you're still going to see the roof lines of all the other houses, especially from my neighbors' houses that abut directly to the north and the west of those properties. And that's, I'm not speaking directly for them, I'm just
Sure.
remembering conversations that we've had with them. And my concern that other people have pointed out is, Toll Brothers is a major national corporation, they build thousands of homes a year, and it kind of surprises me that they make these plans, and then at the last minute, while they're building, they come in and try to sneak these little, maybe sneak is a strong word, but try to sneak these little additions in to change what they already have planned. So I don't think you can tell me that their architects and their planners didn't already have this in mind, and I'm thinking that they don't want to change now because they already have the plans for these taller houses, and they're really hoping not to spend the money to have to reduce them down again. I don't think it would make that big of a difference in a 2-story house, but that's just my opinion. And I need to make a correction, if I could, with the planning department, is that on the map that you showed of the general area, okay, I live just west of there. We have neighbors that live just to the west and the north and the east of there that are R1. But you described that as county ag land on the south side of 10th Avenue, south of that property. It's totally incorrect. Toll Brothers owns that property, and they're developing over 1,000 houses on that. I went to the meeting for that a couple months ago. So that is incorrect on your map.
Okay, Carl, can you show me, like, which piece you're talking about?
This one here.
That's south, directly south? Okay.
South of that, and that's no longer county ag land. That was sold by the I think, Idaho
Oh, yes.
Idaho College, and Toll Brothers bought it, and they're going
Okay.
to develop over 1,000 homes in that area directly across the street from my house. I mean,
Right.
nothing I can do about it. And the point that other people brought in is if you let them get away with it this time, they're going to do it every single time with every single facility. They need to learn as a business, get a plan set, get it approved, and go with what you got instead of kind of come back and,
Sure.
because sometimes, I'm not going to insult the city of Caldwell, there's controversies going on a little bit here and there, but it seems like they kind of rubber stamp some stuff sometimes. Seems like these big builders come in and just get whatever they want, and it's, I believe in developing, I believe in, it's your property, you can sell it to whoever you want to develop things, but you also have to go with community standards.
Sure.
And what other people in the community want and feel that they need and don't need. So even that, in this whole peak thing, You have to go by the peak. I mean, that's just ridiculous, because it's very
And I
confusing to
think
everybody.
typically the other cities do.
It's very
I think
confusing.
So I think that's
Because
what's
that's what you
causing
see,
a lot
I
of the
see the peak, I don't
yes.
see halfway down the roof, I
Yes.
see the peak.
Yes.
And that's kind of an issue, because that is your sight line. I'm not looking at midway point, I'm looking at the peak.
Correct.
You know,
So I think
depending on
that
which
is
way-
what's
yeah.
caused the confusion,
Yeah.
even the issue with them, because usually the other cities
Yeah.
don't do it to peak.
Yeah.
I kind of compromised on the other ones at 27.
Yeah, but
like,
it didn't make a difference in the height of the peak, though. It just didn't. It just, we looked at the measurements, it didn't change the height of the peak
Mm-hmm.
1 inch. The peak is still 31 feet or 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they're gonna have the midpoint at 27, the peak is still gonna be up at that 30-foot range.
Yeah. And I mean, not all the other homes are going to be two-story. I mean, there will be a mix, I'm assuming.
Right, I
Yes.
understand the market plays
Right.
into that, and what people are gonna buy and not buy and all that stuff, but it's
Sure,
just,
sure.
you know, I think once you make a plan architecturally and you submit those plans to the city, and is it okay for me to ask a question of the planning department?
Sure, go ahead.
Is it normal for builders and developers to do this, to come in while they're building homes and ask for these subs?
Morgan B. Planning and Zoning. It is typical that you get a plan in, and at that point, you review it very thoroughly, and issues come up. So I will say that often we don't know what is or isn't going to work till we get, building permit in, and we look at it in a detailed way, and look if it's meeting code, and then we try to accommodate those issues. I also would like to help clarify the question you brought up about the development across Homedale to the south. We showed it as county and ag because it's not annexed into the city yet. It may have been purchased by a developer, but there are no entitlements on it currently. It is still in the county, and it is still being farmed.
Yeah, because I went to the meeting what Toll Brothers put on about what they're gonna develop, and they had a nice picture of it, and they said, City of Caldwell is gonna develop all the streets around it, and so it's,
It is an application, but it has not been approved by council at this time, so it
Okay.
is not annexed. So
Okay, technically
the
not
map
yet.
has to just represent what is today,
Okay.
and today it's still in the county.
Right.
We have no idea if that will be annexed or not.
okay, that was just my understanding. But back to my question, so when you get a permit for houses, say in this development, I don't know when they put the permits in, a year ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, whenever it was, wouldn't you look at those permit plans and say, well, your height of your roof on these 2 stories is too high, you'll need to get a
A special use permit.
special use permit? Wouldn't you recommend that to them
That's
at that
exactly what
time?
happened, and that's why we're here today. So no houses have been approved that exceed the maximum height. Once we received elevations that showed they wanted to do a house that exceeded the maximum height, we said this doesn't meet code. If you want to do this, you will have to come in and get a special use permit.
But
And that
didn't
is
you-
why we're here today.
Wouldn't you have done that at the time they submitted the original?
We did it as soon as we received a building permit that
Okay,
exceeded the height.
Okay, all right.
We don't get elevation level detail, or specific construction level detailed elevations when we get a subdivision application. So when they submit their subdivision application, they might show us a generic elevation of the style of home they want to do, but they have not put the time and effort and resources into doing the construction drawings for that home at that time because they don't know if the entitlements will be granted. So we didn't have specific, 26 feet, 8.5 inches at that time. As soon as we did receive a request to do that, this process was initiated. And our city code, while it does say the maximum height in the R1 zone is 25 feet, all other zones allow higher, but the R1 does cap it at 25 feet. But the code also has footnotes in that section that specifically say you may exceed this, apply for a special use permit. And so we're just trying to follow the code as soon as the issues
Okay.
come up.
All right, that clarifies my questions. Okay, well, thank you. I would be opposed to limiting it. The 27 feet, like I said, doesn't really make any difference. It doesn't change the height of the peak or anything, so, but I'll leave that in your hand. I was kind of speaking semi for my neighbors. I know what
Sure.
I know what they feel about that project, and
Okay.
I just don't want to go forward having these builders just continuously come in and try to change things at the last minute, trying to kind of pass it under the radar. So,
Sure, okay.
All right,
Thank you so much. Okay, next to speak is Beth Carrico again. Would you like to come back up?
This is, I'm Beth Carrico,
Yes.
16227 South Kimball Avenue,
Thank you.
Caldwell.
Thank you, Beth.
And I guess this is the same song, second verse.
Yeah, kind of is.
Yeah. So I pretty much know how it'll go, but anyway, thank you for the chance as a community member to speak before you today in regards to concerns and opposition to the height increase that has been requested by developer Toll Brothers for the Pradera subdivision at 10th and Homedale Roads. I would like to address opposition to the increase in height from 25 feet to 30 feet that has been requested in the special use permit. Should this request be granted, it is going to very well set precedents for other builders to request an increase in roof height, which I'm sure has already been done in other subdivisions. Please do not cut off more view of our Idaho sky by granting this increase. The additional height is actually an interference to the sunrises and sunsets, which we love to see in our Idaho horizons, but have been blocked off by the addition of so many homes built and land eaten up. Regarding this subdivision by Homedale Road that is well underway in development, I understand that originally nearby neighbors were told one-story homes were going to be built. Then 2 stories were added, and now the developer wants a permit to have even more sky acreage and sky view taken up. Toll Brothers is in the process of developing an even larger area than the Pradera subdivision near me, building over 1,000 residential homes, including quadruplexes on the land that was owned and sold by University of Idaho, which are the fields between Pradera and my 1970 subdivision. Across the street from me, Element Ridge subdivision with 214 homes on 75 acres is being planned by a different developer and could very likely request a height increase, but like Toll Brothers, may wait until development is well underway. We're seeing cookie-cutter homes all over, raised height of homes to actually not 2 but 3-story buildings, and an ever-increasing amount of traffic on South 10th with Highway 55 construction also beginning. All of this may serve the city and developer well financially with taxes and higher cost of homes with increase of height, but it is at the expense of people who moved into our homes because of the view and wildlife area in which we live. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you, Beth. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No,
Okay.
nothing that hasn't already been said.
Okay, thank you.
Brad, you do not want to speak. Do you want to come back up and speak? No? No? Okay. Terry is a no, and so is Bruce. Would you like to come up? No? Okay. Come on up.
Okay, again, I'm Gordon Terrill, 16226 Horizon Drive here in Caldwell. I have one, and I don't know, maybe this has been approached before. They want to increase the height by, as she said, only 1.8 inches.
Yeah.
I could almost live with that if they would consider the fact that they could cut the ground. I worked in construction. I've done with that kind of stuff. If they cut the ground down at 1.8 inches, they would have their happy little houses, and we would have our height that the city's already stated is per code. Because as already been stated, they come in, they already have the intention, they're gonna bust the code, we'll just get a special use permit. City makes money, they sell bigger houses or whatever. They could put the expenditure out and drop the height, the foundation height of those houses and accomplish the exact same thing all the way around. That's all I wanna say.
Well, thank you, Gordon. That would be something that the applicant would have to address, because
Yeah, it would
that's a lot
cost
of
money that they don't
engineering as well as cut and fill balance. I mean,
draw
there's.
a picture. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm leaving. Okay.
But no, thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it. Is there anyone else that would like to come up? Okay, Hannah, are you ready to come back up? Sure, yeah. Thank you. Name and address again, one more time.
Yes, Hannah Assurance on behalf of Toll Brothers. Our address is 3103 West Sherrill Drive in Meridian. Do you have any specific questions, or would you like me to address some of the
Yes, if you
comments?
could, yes, please.
Yeah, of course. Again, thank you for the comments, concerns. I'll start with just talking a little bit about the elevation of the subdivision, I'll address the last engineering condition there. I'm personally not an engineer, so I cannot speak to all of the engineering that goes into that, but the measurement is from the base of the foundation, so I don't believe it would make a whole lot of difference dropping that down, but also we need to tie into roadways and other things there too. So there's a lot of considerations that our engineers do when trying to design the site and make sure that it works with public facilities. So just to start with that, would like to address that the homes, again, the homes that we're developing along that western boundary, it is, I believe it's always been said to the neighbours that those will be single story. Those homes, the neighbouring properties are also slightly above our subdivision in terms of elevation as well, so it slopes slightly down to our development in that location as well. So even with those single stories, they'll be even lower below their housing than if they were on level. Let's see, I also wanted to just reiterate what staff said earlier of, in terms of the entitlement and the stage of learning when, what elevations we're going to present and all of that stuff. As staff mentioned at entitlement stage, you know, we want to have a good idea of what we're doing, but also we don't know if it will be approved, and so a lot of the times we do not have every elevation that we're going to offer at that stage, and then as we get through the process, we submit those, we have conversations with staff and talk about our options there. And the special use permit process can take some months to go through to get to this point here today. So we've been working with staff for months to kind of get to this point. And then just lastly, I just wanted to get back to the development agreement conditions. The floor plans and elevations offered, again, just to reiterate, there is a lot of development agreement conditions that we are meeting in terms of the way that both the city and neighbor, and what I believe neighbors wanted the homes to look like, the bulk scale, all of that stuff in terms of size, square footage, that we're adhering to, and we have not, we're not trying to get away from those agreements previously, so.
Sure.
If I'm missing anything, please let me know.
Sure. So Hannah, you're, and obviously you weren't at the original hearing, but the neighbors had expressed desire for larger homes.
Yes.
So that's why the development agreement has square footage minimum restrictions?
That is my understanding, yeah.
Okay.
It's part of that, yeah, and lot sizes as well.
Okay. And then just to clarify, you guys did not know that this was an issue until you originally submitted your building permit for review, and it came back with comments that addressed it then? So it's not like you guys were,
That's my understanding.
you
yes.
had no idea that this was an issue until then?
That's my understanding. I did not submit those building
Oh,
permits.
sure. Okay.
But that is my understanding that at that stage is when we were told that we would need to seek a special use permit.
Okay. Oh, Morgan, do you have something you'd like to add?
Morgan Bisad, Planning and Zoning. I just wanted to clarify, but only if we were done. I wasn't trying to interject.
No, you're fine, please.
Just to address one of the last comments that was made by the public about just digging the ground a little deeper so the house is sunk down, I wanted to clarify how the city measures building height. We've only talked so far that we measure to max, or midpoint of peak, but we also start that at finished grade. So even if we, lowered the finished grade, it wouldn't change anything, because we're measuring from the finished grade to the midpoint of peak.
Sure. Okay.
Anything
Okay.
else?
I think, let me just double check, make my notes. Okay, nope, I think we're good, Hannah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, I will close the public hearing, and again, I'm trying to find a compromise. I don't want them to exceed to 30 feet, but also find a midpoint, and so, as in Passero, I will restrict it to the 27 feet
Madam
midpoint.
Hearing Examiner, just for
Yes,
rule's sake, you said you're closing the hearing. I
I
think you meant to
closed
say
this
the public
public hearing.
testimony.
yeah, and public testimony, yes.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Alex. So with that, based on the testimony, information received, record of evidence, with the changed condition, I will make an motion to approve SUP dash, let me make sure I have the right number, 000009? Okay, thank you. And with that, I will close our hearing. It is 3:03. And thank you.